a Dear Media original podcast.
Today we have Katherine Schwarzenegger, a New York Times bestselling author and host of Before, During, and After Baby on IG Live, and someone I've known for a while. Hi, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So the last time we were together, it was before either of our babies.
Yes.
And I remember very specifically, we were in your kitchen and you were very open about the fact that you had not been someone who had like really cooked at all, but you were really open and wanting that. And I was wondering how that journey has been for you.
It's been a journey. I feel like you get like a little bit more inclined to like dabble in it when you have children.
Yeah.
So I feel like I have dabbled a little bit more in it since becoming a mom. I would like to say that there are a bunch of different things that I've learned to cook since you and I were in the kitchen. And I feel like I've burnt a lot. Like I burnt bagel bites for my stepson. I've burnt different meals for my husband, trying to attempt to cook for him. And my older daughter, Lila, she loves all the same food that I love, which is just like children's meals. So
Right.
I'm really successful with peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and that's like the extent of it.
I mean, I think there's something so endearing about that because I feel like now everyone's just like, everyone's a chef, especially online. So I think like being able to admit that you're like a beginner is, I think, cool.
Thank you. I mean,
that.
Also, I'm super lucky because my husband is amazing.
Is he?
At cooking. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah. So, I mean, I think for me, he loves cooking and also loves trying new recipes and cooking for everybody. And so it's worked out very well.
Fantastic.
That's his strong trait there. One of many, but he's very good at that. So.
Oh, I love that for you. That's wonderful news. I'm
Thank
really
you.
glad to hear that.
I know. You're like, thank God for you.
Yeah, no, that's great. You're taking care of it. That's all I needed to know. Like you guys are eating. So
yeah.
So you have this new book coming out, Goodnight Sister,
Yeah.
and you're about to go on your big tour, and I'm really excited for you. And I was wondering kind of what sisterhood meant to you. I know you have a sister and you guys are really close in age, and I know that can like ebb and flow as time goes on. And I was just wondering what it meant to you.
My relationship with my sister, Christina, is like everything to me. It's her and I are the similar age difference to both of my girls, which is super special and really just amazing to watch, you know, my daughter's dynamics with each other and how like certain things are already very similar to how Christina and I were in home videos that we've watched. And it's really special because, you know, I did everything with Christina growing up, and she's younger than me, but growing up, she always did everything first. Like I was much more timid and reserved as a child, and Christina was very like bold and confident and energetic. So I always made her do everything before me. Like I wouldn't go down a slide until she went down first. I wouldn't get my ears pierced until she went first. And that's really why I wrote this book. Like the theme of the book is based off my relationship with Christina, and just like the fact that it's so important and such a huge gift to be able to have somebody that you can turn to give you a hug when you're younger, and also just through life that will help you feel brave or get through something that you feel like is scary. And I wrote it actually before I had my second daughter, Eloise. So it was super special that, you know, I ended up having two girls as this book comes out. And sisterhood to me is just such an important thing, and also not necessarily something that you have to have with a blood sister. Like I think as we get older, and also for people like my mom who didn't have a sister growing up, like she found that relationship and that dynamic with her cousins. And as we get older, like there are certain people that come into our lives who we feel like are sisters. And for me, I feel really lucky that I have that kind of built-in best friend with Christina. And yeah, it's just so special and really exciting for me to kind of be able to spread the word about sisterhood as I go on this book tour.
I love that so much, and I agree. And I'm glad that you mentioned the other piece too, because I'm someone who doesn't have like a sister, but I do feel that way with some of my friends. And it's so funny. I remember being on this panel a couple years ago, and this like very prominent doctor was talking about how like female friendships and female relationships like that are so important for health. And I remember at the time I was so like, it has to be science-based and it has to be the research and whatever. And I felt like it was kind of woo-woo. And now as I've gotten older, especially through motherhood, you realize how I can only imagine how like a blood sisterhood, but just like sisterhood in general is so important for health and just like mental health and everything.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's such an important thing to be able to have people that you can lean on in life to help you through a variety of different things. And I feel like motherhood is one of those adventures that you go on where you really want to be able to have your village in place to be able to call on certain people when you need them. And when it comes to Christina, like her and I, we do pretty much everything together anyway, but especially when it comes to her role as an aunt to my girls, like she's so involved and so hands-on that I feel really lucky I can kind of like call on her to help me, especially like if I have, you know, meetings or interviews or work stuff that I can know that my girls are, you know, with somebody that they love and that loves them back. And again, like as you kind of embark on this motherhood journey, you become really close friends with new people and new moms. And then also seeing like my lifelong friends also step into the role of motherhood around the same time that I did is really special too, because we're going through so much of this chapter of life together, like we have chapters before. And so that's really special as well. And it's, you know, amazing to be able to have such close-knit friends and people that you trust around you for this amazing time of life.
Completely. It's so important. It's important just to be able to, like you said, call on someone and just like have them already know. Like someone who just knows you so deeply and you don't even have to get into the whole thing. It's just like, it's important for mental health and just, I think overall
for
health.
Sure. I think like even, it's funny because I have like a group text with a couple mom friends, and some of them are friends that I've, you know, have been in my life since I was 3 years old. And then other ones are ones that, you know, I've known for many years, but gotten closer to as, you know, we have kids that are the same age, and we have this group, this like group text chain that we'll just like send random text messages of just different things that either like our husbands say or do, or our kids say or do, or, you know, family members, or just like certain things. And then we all just chime in and like get a kick out of each other. And I feel like it really, when you talk about like mental health, it really, you know, if you feel like spiked on a certain emotional level, or if you feel drained on an emotional level, like having these relationships that can make you laugh. For me, laughter is so important. And I'm someone who like laughs too much at like inappropriate times or times I'm not supposed to. So to be able to have this relationship with other people where, you know, I could have one of my girls be teething, and then I wake up like 6 times at night and I'm exhausted, and then somebody will say something funny and I'm like, okay, it's fine. You know, just that aspect and that component of parenthood is also really special.
Yeah, it is. And being able to laugh about it. And I think the thing is that I think is really cool with you is that you have found this way of being really honest and vulnerable and being able to talk about motherhood in this way and on your IG live show and all of it. And at the same time, you've also been able to like super protect your girls from the, like you've done it in a way that feels really good for you. And I was wondering how that's been for you in terms of, you know, keeping their privacy in a way that feels really healthy and right for you and your family. And then also being at the same time, being able to share all these things that are going on for you, which is also really incredibly healthy and like walking that line.
For me, when I share my experiences, I'm choosing to share those experiences about myself.
Yeah.
So I feel comfortable doing that because it's my choice to speak about my experiences or my thoughts on something or my feelings on something. And I always do it with the intent of not sitting here and saying like, this is my thought on this, or this is my experience here. But I do it really with the intent of sharing my experience or my journey or my struggle or my challenges with something in life, whether it's motherhood, pregnancy, life after college, body image, like all these different components of life, I choose to be open about them with the hope of being able to share my experience to help another person feel less alone in their journey. And that's been my intention with my very first book. It's my intention with everything that I work on. So if it's my IG Live series with BDA Baby, or if it's, this book, or just any of the conversations that like I have with you here, it's always my goal to just be honest about experiences in life, with the hope that like, if that makes another person feel like, oh, she's going through it too, and I can, maybe she has something that will help me in my journey, or me feel less alone, or, oh my gosh, I thought that I was the only one who was experiencing this, and now I know I'm not. And I feel like that is like, I am like, okay, I feel good about that. So that's always my goal with everything. And it's my goal with, learning more about certain subjects that I interview people on with with BDA Baby. If I'm talking about something that I haven't experienced, but someone else wants to know more about it, I ask questions for them. So it's always my goal to just, make the world a little bit better of a place by helping people on their journeys, and also being able to share my honest experience with certain things that I've, experienced or lived through, or I'm living through, all with the help of, allowing somebody to have a little bit of relief or feel seen in their journey. And I feel really lucky to be able to do it. And then when it comes to just my girls' privacy, it was such a intentional choice of both of my parents growing up to be able to give the gift of privacy to the four of us kids. And even though we had like a very recognizable last name, and not one that like is like, oh, there are many people who have the last name Schwarzenegger. Like my mom and my dad made it a point to really not have us go on red carpets, not have us go and just like be shown around, and really allow us to have the privacy that, allowed us to have a really, or as normal of a childhood as possible, and to allow us to just figure life out on our own, separate from who our parents are and who people thought that we should be or shouldn't be based on, the family that we came from. And I feel like it was such a huge gift that when I was younger, I didn't necessarily totally understand it, of course, but as I've gotten older and I've been able to find my own passion separate from my parents and do my own thing, and of course, admire and respect and, love my parents through the whole experience of it. And also be able to say like, this is a little bit of something I want to do differently, or this is something that I want to do, that is an interest of mine, and be able to work really hard to find what that is and to navigate that, and with their love and support, of course. But it's such an important thing that my parents gave me, that Chris and I really wanted to be able to give to our kids as well, is just like, being able to be open about the fact that like, yes, I'm a mom, I have two girls, and I, experience certain things. And also like, I want them to be able to live their life as themselves and be able to have the privacy that they also deserve. And just because they were born to parents who might be showing certain things online, that doesn't mean that they have to also do that. So yeah, it's like a definitely very intentional choice, and one that I'm super protective of, is just like protecting their privacy and protecting my girls, and giving them the same gift of privacy that my parents gave to us, because I'm very grateful for it.
That sounds exactly that. It sounds so healthy, and it sounds so intentional, which I feel like if that's the place you're operating from, especially in parenthood, but like really with anything, like you can't go wrong if you're just like, let me just think so thoughtfully about how I want to play this. And it's always kind of, I think it really shows, and it's really impressive. And I think that is such a gift that you're giving them, and that you were given, which is really beautiful.
Thank you so much. And I also will preface this by saying, like, I have nothing against anybody sharing pictures of their kids.
Of course.
I know everybody will be like, I can't believe you said like,
no.
Yeah, I definitely like, I totally understand, and I love seeing other people's kids online. Like, I think it's amazing, and it's so beautiful to be able to share your children. Just like for me personally, I just wanted to do that.
And that's why I like talking about it, because it's a conversation in parenthood and motherhood of, I think the best thing you can do as a parent is listen to your gut and figure out what's best for your family, because only you know. And like, it really depends on so many things. And so I feel like honoring that and being like, ooh, I'm really feeling what feels really healthy for us. And it's obviously a conversation among all of you guys. I think being intentional and being thoughtful in that, there's no wrong way to play it as long as it's coming from that place, period.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. But, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about one of the things I really admired about you, which is like, I find you to be kind of this lifelong student. Like, you, with your IG Live show, which you've had for a while, you, I think, love learning, and you love kind of taking bits and pieces of wisdom from people along the way, and you have access to so many people. And I was wondering if there was any kind of like life advice or wellness advice or anything that felt like really good and yummy to you that you've picked up along the way that you felt like was a really important nugget.
I mean, there's so much. I feel like there is just like every week I learn something new about a new subject or a new experience from different people, and also for myself. I'm a naturally very curious person. I get that, I think, from my mom. Like, my mom, growing up, I'd be standing in line at Starbucks, and my mom would get up to the cash register, and like someone would have blue hair, and she'd be like, can you tell me the story about what made you choose to have blue hair? And like 5 minutes later, we'd be still talking, and someone would be crying and then explaining like this crazy dark thing that happened. Like, it was just, I grew up watching my mom do that. And I think that's why I am comfortable talking to people and asking people questions. And I'm just very curious about everything. I probably ask too many questions, but it's been really amazing for me and really exciting to be able to talk to so many different people in this series, and also just in life in general. And I don't know if I could say that there's one piece of advice. I would say that one theme that comes up from everybody who's a parent or going through any form of parenting, whether you have older kids or younger kids, is just how quickly it goes by, and the importance of being present in those moments. Like, even when you're waking up multiple times at night, and or your baby's teething, or you're trying to do anything sleep oriented, or you're exhausted, or you're postpartum and you feel emotional, or just to be like really present in those moments, because things go by so quickly.
Yeah.
And that's a really big piece of advice that I feel like I've definitely learned since doing this IG series, is really talking to people about just how quickly everything seems to go by. Like, you have a newborn, and then you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be less stressful when they're 1 year old. And then you're 1 year old, and you're gonna be like, oh, this is, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're not a newborn anymore. Like, things just happen so quickly as a parent. And I feel like something that's been really crazy for me as a new mom is to see how many moments in a day get me thinking about my own childhood and like missing my childhood, and like thinking and reflecting on moments of like me and my siblings, or me with my parents, and then looking at the fact that like I'm in this same moment that my parents were in back then.
Yeah.
And it being like so special and really just amazing to be able to be in that. And then also just to sit and say like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was so long ago. Like that was, I'm 33 now. Like, that's so crazy that was so long ago. And then to see where everybody is now, and then to know that like, now I have 2 little girls and a family of my own, and to see them with my siblings and my parents. Like, I think that's one thing that really caught me off guard about motherhood, is like how much I think about my own childhood in the process.
Yeah, it does. It brings up so much, and it is it's like the passage of time is just staring you right in the face.
Totally. And that's why, like, when you ask what the biggest piece of advice is, I think like being present, because you think about those times and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was 30 years ago that like I was playing with, playing house with Christina, I was welcoming Christopher home from the hospital, or Patrick being a baby and playing Legos with him. Like there are all of these, because I'm the oldest in my family, I have all these vivid memories. And I think just to see time goes by, it goes by so fast. So to be present in all of those experiences, whether they're like the happiest, most joy-filled ones, or if they feel more stressful, or if they feel overwhelming, or, whatever it is, just to be as present as possible in them.
I think that's so healthy, and it's so right. And it like goes back to like every part of life, and how, obviously that's hard to do always, and we can't do it in every moment, but like wanting to do that and thinking about doing it and setting that intention early in the day to be like, ooh, I'm going to like pay attention today.
Yeah.
When you were talking about your girls and protecting them in the way that you were kind of protected, I was also thinking about your relationship, and it could have been a very public relationship, and I think on paper it could be, but you do such a beautiful job protecting it. And a lot of the listeners are really interested in stuff like that, about like relationships, and we have like women in their like mid to late 20s who are really interested in relationship stuff, whether it's like through dating and early couple stuff and getting engaged and married and early motherhood stuff. And I was wondering if you had any advice for them.
I watched my parents be a public couple.
Yeah.
And I feel like they did it in a way where they were, they were proud of being in a relationship with one another. They were proud of having a family together and doing things together and being in love with each other. And they did it while being really private about everything that, like our family and their love for each other, and just like their relationship was like, everybody knew that they were together because they would do things together. But the kind of details or intimate parts of a relationship were always private. And I think that was like a theme of my childhood, of my parents' relationship, and also just our family in general. Like we're very public about our love for one another, and supporting one another and being protective and there for each other. And also we're very private about a lot. And so when it came to, when Chris and I first started dating, and when we got married, and when we have kids, like we are very open about our love for one another, and that I'm proud to be his wife, he's proud to be my husband, we support one another and we're there for one another. And we're also very private about a lot, because I think that there's so much oversharing like with everything now. And again, I think that works for a lot of people, and that's so great. And there's also, for me, I feel like I grew up keeping like the real like heart of things private and like protected. And so when it comes to our relationship, like there's so much of that I want to keep, private and protected, and always be like each other's biggest cheerleaders and biggest, fans and biggest support systems, and be able to always be like loud and proud about cheering each other on, and, being supportive, and also be really mindful of like how much we share, how much we put out there, and just, being mindful of that. Again, it's like being intentional about how much we share in our relationship. And I see a lot of people do that now, like sharing certain parts of their life and not certain parts of other aspects of their life. And I think some people get it and other people do not understand it. And I also understand people not understanding it. Like I get it. And I also, for us, it's what works. And it's also really important to us. Like our relationship is very important to both of us, and relationships take, making sure you check in with one another. They take work, they take love, energy, and making sure that that's something that we both feel is sacred is super important. So I always I encourage people like that are, if my girlfriends are dating somebody, or if, I'm always like, be excited and be proud of your love. Like, be proud of who you love in life, and keep some of that to yourself. Keep some of the stuff that's behind closed doors. Like, keep those things to yourself. You don't need to post if you had an argument with somebody. You don't need to post all your thoughts about everything, about the details of your relationship, or, all the little special moments that happen between you guys. If you want to share some of those, great. And, be open about loving the people that you love, or loving the person that you love. And then also keep some of that for yourself, because there's something special to that. And that's, I think, what we do.
I'm so glad that you shared that. And I really wanted you to feel really safe in being able to share that, because I know that you are private and protective, and I didn't want it to feel like we're like, asking something about your relationship. Yeah. But I actually was really wanting that exact thing, which is that I think that that's a real theme for you, that you're intentional and you're really specific and thoughtful, and that you are going to really protect your people in this way that I think is really beautiful, and I think can be helpful to think about in that way. And you also have the benefit of kind of having knowledge of that whole life before you actually kind of embarked on it yourself, which I think has been incredibly helpful as well.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of life that I'm able to just like talk to both my parents about, because they were intentional with a lot of their choices. My mom came from a well-known family, and she was really intentional about how she parented us in our journeys. And so I talked to my mom about everything. And then I talked to my dad about a lot as well. And I learned a huge amount from their choices that they made, and their decisions that they made, and maybe things I didn't understand when I was growing up that I definitely understand now. And now being a parent myself, things that I'm like, that is exactly what, I want to do the same thing, or I want to do that aligned with how they did certain things. So, it's all interesting, and it's all like a learning experience that I'm still constantly, like, I call my mom like 5 times a day already, and it's like 10:30 in the morning. So
I love that. No, but yeah. she has some valuable advice for you.
Yeah, she does.
Kat, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited for you and your book.
Thank you so much.
And we're gonna see you out doing the whole thing all over the country.
Thank you so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.